What is up, all you beautiful people? So I bought some things for the Moto 4 and I think you can tell exactly what we're gonna be getting into today. Now there's just one thing we're missing, the four-wheeler. Let's go get that. Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, I am throwing a winch on this thing. Now this is a 1989 Yamaha Moto 4. Now it looks like there's gonna be a ton of room in here to mount that winch, but I have no idea. I bought this thing on a whim, so let's just open it up and see what it looks like. Now if you have any questions on this ATV, or you just wanna know like the different products I'm using, such as that winch and the winch mounting plate, make sure you head over to my website. There's a link down in the description and I'll tell you everything you need to know. The winch plate we're gonna be using is this Badlands. If you don't know what that is, this is just your Harbor Freight special. But this thing costs $6 out the door, and look at it. It's pretty beefy, so can't beat it for the price. Used as intended only, this plate is designed to be used with these two winches only. Do not weld, bend, drill new holes in, or otherwise modify this plate. Yeah, okay. And the winch we're gonna throw on it is this Warn 2000 DC winch. Now synthetic winch lines are cool and all, but this thing has these steel braided cable, which I really like because this thing was built in '89, so it's gonna give it that like old school kind of vibe. I mean, this thing was built before a lot of you guys were even born. I don't even know if this thing's gonna fit, so let's try to tuck it up in here and see what we're working with. Oh yeah, that'll work out real nice. Now we can't go too much higher with this thing, unfortunately, because we're gonna be hitting this little plastic cover here. But it looks like this bar is actually the perfect height for us just to mount a plate straight off of that. So I don't think this will be as bad as I thought it was gonna be. All right, so we're around 10 minutes into this project and we're already running into our first couple of issues. So the first thing we're running into is these fairlead bolts here. They do not line up at all, and these little tabs here are actually not even long enough on our Badlands bracket. The plate is designed to be used with these two winches only, so we're gonna have to extend those, and lucky for me, I keep a lot of junk around, so I got this 3/16 flat bar stock, and I'm just gonna be adding this to this little bracket here, and we're gonna extend that the whole way up, and I'm gonna weld these holes shut, and then we'll just have to re-drill holes there. Now another issue with this bracket is if I center this notch with the cutout in the winch, you can see right there that our holes do not line up. So I'm just gonna end up welding all of these holes shut on this plate, and then we'll just start new and we will go ahead and drill new holes. So we're gonna modify this plate entirely. And you're probably wondering why I'm going through the trouble of modifying this plate so much and extending these and getting these fairlead bolts in here. And that's just because that'll give me 4 mounting points. I'll have 2 of those fairlead bolts in, and I'll have 2 bolts here that attach the winch to the plate. Otherwise, I mean, I could just cut this across here, but I'd only have 2 bolts holding this whole thing on. 4 bolts, that's kind of twice the strength, so I think it'll be a much stronger setup, and in my opinion, well worth a little bit of time it's gonna take me to modify it. So I'm sanding down all these parts, and I just realized that I have access to a sandblaster like 2 minutes down the road, so I'm gonna get everything tore apart, take everything over to the sandblaster, get it sandblasted, and I'll be back. Of course, I'll be taking the truck. It's the only vehicle worthy of making this journey. I was able to get both of these pieces sandblasted, looking good. That third piece is still over in the sandblaster. I'm gonna leave it there until I'm able to finish it. I was not able to finish it, but now we can go ahead and drill out this bracket and get it welded up. All the holes are filled in, so it's like a brand new plate. Now you probably noticed I chamfered all the holes. That's just so I can get that weld down into the bottom of it and get fusion in the bottom. And then once I got everything cleaned up, I had to grind out all the parts that didn't fuse and get those welded in as well. So now that we got all that done, I'm gonna be building little extensions that are gonna come off of these tabs, and that way I can drill holes through those. Got this bracket all cleaned up the edges, rounded them off so it matched this winch bracket. Now I just need to drill the holes. So I'm gonna take this center punch, run it down in there, punch a couple holes in it, and get those 2 bottom holes drilled. And then I'm gonna drill out these front 2. Got the winch mounted up to our plate and we got all 4 bolts in, so that is good. Now the 2 top bolts up here are a little bit short. We got a couple threads hanging on, but I am gonna need to order some longer bolts just so we have some more thread engagement in there. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take the bumper over to the 4-wheeler, get that bolted on, then I can grab the winch and we'll go ahead and make sure that's all level, nice and centered on the 4-wheeler, and get it tacked in. Oh, I'm sure most of you guys were screaming at your phone or TV or whatever you're watching this on that this is not gonna work, and yeah, unless if I plan on only going straight, that's definitely not gonna work. This tire is gonna smack right into it, so I need to find an alternate way to mount this thing. So I took off this piece here. I'm gonna call it the relay box because there's relays in it and it's a box. So probably gonna have to find an alternate place to mount this just because it is big and bulky, and that gives me just this cylinder here that I have to worry about. And then I taped it up because I was beating it up pretty bad. But I'm thinking I might be able to get it up here, flip it upside down, and it might fit because that little motor part's gonna stick out here. You'll see. So I'm thinking to attach this plate to the frame. I'm gonna cut a tube down to size, and then it's gonna get tacked onto the plate somewhere in here, and then that should offset this whole housing of the winch off of that frame just enough to clear everything. Got this ratchet strap in here compressing this suspension, but that suspension completely compressed. That tire is hitting the side of this winch, and I do have that winch as high as it can go without bottoming out on that bar. So unfortunately, the only way I can see to get this thing in here is to slide the entire winch over, so that way the spool is no longer in line with the center of the ATV, but the spool is going to be hanging off as far as it can to this side, and then that way it should push this whole motor housing over a little bit and give us enough room to clear the tires. So it's not going to be symmetrical, but well, it's the only way I can see to get this thing in. Suspension is fully compressed, and we do have not very much clearance, but plenty of clearance for what we need. And you know what? That off-center look, it'll grow on me. I'm gonna pull that bumper one more time, and then I need to figure out how I'm gonna support that plate, make it super strong, and then I can get everything fully welded. Shouldn't have to do anything wild to support the backside. This plate falls right in between these 2 support pieces here. So I'm thinking I'm just gonna notch this tube and weld it in right across there, and that should be plenty strong enough. Got this part notched and cleaned up, and it does fit in here a little loose. I did trim a little too much off, but that's what the welder's for. Got this plate completely tacked in, should be locked in, shouldn't have any sort of issues with warping. So now comes my favorite part of any project, the part where I get to just weld. Give you guys some close-up of my welds, that way you can leave a comment down below on just how bad they look. YouTube loves engagement. I'll go ahead and get the winch back on, fit everything back up on the 4-wheeler, and then we'll probably start wiring it. Don't think that'll be tonight, but for you guys, that won't really matter. All right, so that winch is not going anywhere. Now I gotta figure out where I'm gonna mount this little relay box. I'm thinking about mounting it up here on the rack, so I got this plate that I'm gonna weld in, and then this box will get mounted right on top of here like so. Of course, the guts are gonna go in there, and then also I have this cutout here that was for the winch, but I'm gonna trim that flat the whole way across, give that a nice flat surface, and that way it'll seal against that plate a little better, and that should keep a lot of the dirt and debris from getting in there. And then this also gives me a good location to access this plug in case I need to use that winch controller. here's what that box is gonna look like once it's attached to the four-wheeler. Now I'm thinking before I get that on and get this plate welded on, I need to figure out how to attach these two pieces together. Now there was that metal band that ran through the bottom of here, and I'm thinking I can just cut the little band off, weld two tabs on the end of here, and I can bolt this bracket through that metal band, and that should hold this box onto this plate. Bracket is in, welds are looking beautiful, and you're probably wondering what this piece here in the middle is for. I just tacked that in to try to keep that as flat as possible when I put all the heat to it. I didn't want to warp it. And then on the back side, I just threw 4 more welds on there just to be sure that this thing doesn't go anywhere. The box is mounted. Now it is a little bit loose and that plate did warp a little bit, but nothing to worry about. I plan on putting some sort of foam in there to help seal that up, so not a problem. So now that we got our winch mounted, our little relay box is mounted, we're gonna get these racks sandblasted once again. That way we can get them painted, and then we can work on the wiring, and that should be the last step. It's laid out, you can see it's dark, so as usual, see you in the morning. Got the parts sandblasted and cleaned them up this morning, so they're ready for paint. And yes, this is the nicest paint booth on the East Coast. Everything is painted looking real nice. Front bumper's there, the rack's here. So I'm gonna get the winch on the rack, start assembling this entire four-wheeler, and then I get to wire this thing up.